Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we are talking about those issues that arise when a relationship matures. Okay, so we are past the dating phase where everything is all nice and peachy and wonderful and cute. And oh, I just love how you respond when we're talking about this thing and that thing. And oh, you're just so, oh, I just never met anyone quite like you. And so we're just cuddling and we're hugging and we're kissing. We're having a great time. Okay? Initially. But then as time goes on, there's not as much kissing and hugging and holding. And now I'm starting to see some things that aren't so cute, aren't so nice. Okay? The relationship is maturing. And as the relationship matures, there is also going to be those wars. The silent wars or the wars that we are going to verbally talk about. The issue, you're going to disagree. You may even raise your voice. You may even, under your breath, call me a name. I may look at you crooked-eyed, and I may have my share of words. And nobody is acting all sweet and nice and kind and polite and whatever else, okay? The relationship, once again, is maturing, and one has to take a good long look at that preference list that you had in your mind when you first started looking for that one, whoever that one is to you now. Maybe a lot different, okay? But the preference list had a lot of wonderful, nice things on it. That preference list was your expectations. I've worked in all sorts of environments where the question that I was required to ask was, what do you like? Okay? The customer. I'm speaking to he or she and I'm asking, what do you like? And so, of course, they want as much as possible based on the money that they're putting out. And some people who wanted to spend very little money, they wanted a whole lot. Sorry, you get what you pay for. Those who put some serious money into something, they got, of course, a better quality product, one that had more features, okay? What's happening with a lot of people is that early on in the dating phase, before the relationship matures, is he or she is not putting enough time, enough money, enough of whatever, with whomever, in order to make a determination of whether or not this person is indeed right for me prior to sleeping with them. I mean, we pretty much know that most people, when it comes to intimacy, chit-chatting, talking, having a quality conversation, that's what draws us in, right? And then eventually it is the sexual experience as well. And the combination of the intimacy and the sexual experience is what makes us say, okay, I really think this person is someone who I can sit down with for possibly the rest of my life. Okay? But things change. And as the relationship matures and there's more challenges ahead for so many people, that person that was on your preference list that met all your criteria, that you thought you were getting what you paid for, is not going to remain the same. I have to tell somebody this. I know as much as you would like for that person to continue to look like those pictures that you just fawned over, and you wanted very much for that person to stay in that nice tone of voice that you heard over the phone, and you wanted that person's body even to stay the way it once was. If those things were high on your priority list, I'm telling you right now, you might as well not even stick it out with that person after you done seen what the family look like, what she's starting to look like, what he's starting to behave like. You might as well just say, forget it. Because it's only going for some folks to get worse. If those things were high on your list, the way the person looked, the way the person sound, the way the person treats you, the way the person is just so generous and kind, and those are just so many things that you really admire, really respect about that individual, and you're seeing those things are declining and fast, what do you think the future is going to look like? Okay. Some people say, well, I'm in it to win it. Well, if you're in it to win it, then you shouldn't be complaining then. You really shouldn't be complaining. You just better figure out a way to deal with all that comes with that woman or with that man. And how do you figure that out? Well, you've got to sit down and ask them, what do you like? What do you like? What would you like for me to do? Yes, that's where that service comes in, the part in the Bible that sometimes we just want to just skip through. Yes, it's not about you being served, my friend. It's about you serving her, serving him. I got to act like a servant pretty much. Ooh, I didn't expect to hear that in this message. I thought you were going to just talk about all of what they need to do for us. No. No, no, no. I'm finding out that just about every single relationship, whether it is the one that's at home or the one that's at the workplace or the one that's at the church or the one that's down the street or at the civic group somewhere, whatever connection relationship that you have with someone, it always boils down to what is it that I'm going to have to do for them. Every single time. I've been on this planet long enough to know, as I've went to the Lord and prayed to him about all sorts of things related to people, it always comes back to, well, what did you do for your mother? Or what did you do for your dad? Or what did you do for your husband? Or what did you do for your cousin or for your aunt or for your uncle or for your sister or brother? And if you haven't done anything lately, here's the breaking news. If you haven't done anything lately, those individuals don't feel like they have to give you too much of anything. Conversation time, money, material wealth, whatever. If you're not in a person's face all the time, doing something for them, whether it's a small thing or a large thing, they pretty much over time forget about you. Okay? I know. Ooh, it hurts. It even hurts sometimes me saying it. But what about all those other times that you did this, that, and the other? I know, right? But at the end of the day, if it hasn't been anything that you've done lately to really just wow them, you are in the background somewhere. And if the person has already made up in his or her mind that they really don't want to be with you any longer because you just spend way too much time to yourself, focus on yourself, your dreams, your aspirations, and it was all about self for a long period of time, then they have forgotten about you and their mind is elsewhere. It's their mind is checking out. They're going somewhere else. It's happened to me. I mean, I've seen the look in men's eyes just kind of just go off somewhere else. And they're thinking about somebody else or they want to be with somebody other than you. Why is that? Because if you don't nurture the relationship, if you are not the one that's in that person's face, if you're not the one that's building them up and giving them, as much as you possibly can, as often as you can, because some people are more needy than others, then they will start to look somewhere else. They'll start thinking about somebody else. They'll start going somewhere else. They'll start having a conversation with someone else. Okay. And then if they are the selfish type, they're only going to get let down by the next person and the next one because you're not putting in as much into that friendship relationship over time because you're going to always be looking for, well, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? You see, that's how it is with the selfish people because they only have a limit of how much they're going to give to these women or to, these men that they date. And then the relationship, of course, matures over time. Okay, so now I've done all this through the dating phase, and now the relationship is at a certain state of maturity. I expect A, B, and C. And when that woman or that man is not giving what you want, how you want it, when you want it, there is this disappointment that starts to creep up on you. And then if you keep being rejected too much, then you start to resent that person. And then if that person continues to do things that really upset you, now you are headed toward hate. Okay? And I've experienced these emotions. That's why I'm just being candid and telling you right now that if you are experiencing something along those lines where it's quite negative and you can't even think about the positive any longer, you should have been exiting that relationship a long time ago because all you're doing now is being an agent for Satan for that very one who you should have been freed from. Okay. We tend to end up going from being friends to being foes to partners to friends to whoever because we hate the fact that they want us to do so many different things. Like I said, those needy people, if you cannot tolerate neediness, okay, and you don't consider yourself to be a needy type, you definitely don't need to be in any type of friendship relationship with a needy person. Needy people expect a lot. I was with an individual years ago who you had to call this man up, okay? You had to be in his face. You had to be, available to him during intimate times when he wanted to just talk, as well as times where he wanted to, have his sex and more sex. And if you weren't available to him, it was on to the next one. Okay. And then he had this way of making you feel guilty. And so then you would go, okay, I'm sorry. And then he'd be like, okay. And he used those other women to kind of train you to be the type of person he wanted you to be. Now, these other women can go away if you do your part. I know, psychologically manipulative, power and control tripping. Had some dates that, okay, let's see what you're made of. Okay. And they would just kind of analyze and take a look. Okay, she got the right build. She got the right skin tone. Okay, she talks a certain way. I like, she's transparent. She's cool. She's laid back. But then there was that side to me that shows up only if provoked. And so if we're in a dating phase, it's not provoked. It's always going to be cool. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And that's where you end up being the second woman or the other woman, or you end up being put in a background somewhere because they want you to always be that way. Okay, so when provoked, there's that person who stands up. You hear her, still me, in many of the audios where I'm not tolerating foolishness. Okay. And that's that person that they don't like. That is who I am. That is me. That's me all day, every day. That's the name on the birth certificate. And some people can't handle that. And that is why you don't get involved with the people of God, the prophetess and the prophet. You don't get involved with the minister or with the deacon. Because as God moves on us, we speak the kind of truth that's not sugar-coated like it is during the dating phase. Come on. And so you see, people want things, but they can't handle things. Okay. People want to be a part of a connection, relationship, partnership, friendship with somebody who is about truth and transparent. But then when that truth and transparency shows up and shows out, I don't like you so much. You see, the relationship has matured. The relationship has matured. Some of you all got to get that in your spirit. Because, see, when the relationship was immature, we couldn't really have that dialogue, that deep dialogue, right? Deep, talking to deep. We couldn't do it because we were too concerned about, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to upset you. I really like having these great conversations with you without all of the fights because, the exes we fought with, the exes we had attitudes with, the exes we had long drought periods to the point where we checked out, where we weren't getting our needs met. So then along comes this person who's like, yes, I want to meet your needs. Hello. Woo. You are sent from God. And then that person, as time goes on, is like, wait a minute, I'm not going to keep meeting your needs. I mean, I need certain things met too. Okay. But then at some point, two people are getting tired of all of this. I want, I need, can you give me? Can you run for me? Can you do? Okay. Selfish people, they burn out real quick. They burn out. I'm looking at the timeline based on my own personal experiences in the past. The timeline, they burnt out about 1 to 3 months. And then the ugly showed up. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. You want me to do what? Because see, back in those days, I didn't drive. I didn't have a car. So that meant you got to come my way. And no, the bus is a little bit too long to keep getting on to come see about you. Okay. And so there, was the compromises. And then there was eventually, I am not going to keep coming over here to see this woman because I got this and I got that to do. And then if you got other women you're seeing and they got cars, right? So I was running into some interesting characters in my lifetime. And these interesting characters were definitely, with the exception of maybe 2, were definitely not spiritual men. They were worldly men. They were men who, you give me, I give you. When I get tired of you, I'm moving on to somebody else. Okay. It happened time and time again with the worldly men. Now, if you're spiritual and you want to mess with a worldly man, if you want to, because he meets your appearance requirements, by all means, you can do that, but you're going to have trouble. You can believe that. Sooner or later, the spiritual and the unspiritual are going to be at war with one another. And some of you all, you are experiencing that now because long time ago, you got involved with somebody and you guys may have been equally yoked long time ago, in the sense that y'all both were worldly, you both were stubborn, you both were ignorant at times about spiritual things, you both had your selfish needs, and everybody wanted this, that, and the other from one another. Then the relationship matured. You decided that you wanted to walk the straight and narrow, you wanted to get your act right. Here we go. Welcome to unequally yoked connection, relationship, friendship. And some people are like, I am never going to change. God is never going to be that real, that personal to me. So you can keep on feeding me all sorts of little stories or what have you, but I am not down with that sort of connection. Where you want me to do what? Read the Bible, pray with you, go to church? Not me. Okay. And that is what I kept coming across. And I'll tell you that even in my marriage, sometimes we have our share of differences because he is of a different faith, right? Had a different background. Me, I came in with a multitude of different faiths. Okay. And, when you got a whole lot of stuff that's going on with you, you realize, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to get along with this person with a multitude of faiths. I got to have one faith and one faith only, and that's believing in Jesus Christ, right? And believing that he left behind the Holy Spirit and believing that God is his Father. And if I want some peace in the household, then I better be talking that kind of talk and not talking anything other than that, you see. So, these sorts of things will show up once again as the relationship matures. And then you've got people who, okay, am I getting married under this faith or under this one? Then there's a compromise. Well, we're going to have this faith in addition to these rituals. And then that way we have a compromise and we cover all gods, all parties, all everything. Yeah, but then at some point the gods are going to be at war. Okay. Because not everybody, as we are learning and growing, serves the same God. Okay. Because as you sit down and you spend some more time with some people, you realize their God is not your God. Okay. Or they don't have the same reverence for God as you do, or they don't study out of the Bible that you do, or they don't participate in fellowships like you do. Their church may not be the church that you thought it was. Oh, I thought it was just about Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. And you found out it's a satanic church. Okay. I've had my share of connections in that regard too. And I'm not saying I was a Satanist, because I wasn't. But the person who I had been involved with was very much into the Luciferian type of doctrine, Satanism, and had taken a lot of the precepts from the Satanist faith and decided to walk in those precepts. And interesting enough, a believer and one with the Luciferian philosophy got along for a little bit, here and there, over a period of years, but then eventually that wasn't going to work. Okay. So when I talk about the dark side, I talk about the dark side from personal experience. I talk about it also from a spiritual perspective, because when you get hooked up with somebody and they start to show you their cards, so to speak, you start to also connect into, or you may have already connected intimately, sexually with this person. And so some of those demons end up being in and around you. Okay. So when I talk, like I said, from the dark perspective and some of the things that might even, raise the hairs on the back of your neck, it is because I've been there. And I know what it's like to be with somebody who you are just very, very different from in the spiritual world. We may look the same and come from the same ethnicity, background, what have you, but when it came to spirituality, we're very, very different. So the relationship, once again, it's maturing and you're discovering all sorts of things that are not giving you any type of confidence that this relationship is going to go the distance. My best advice is just go ahead on and learn as much as you possibly can. You mean go ahead and stay in a relationship? until it's convenient to leave. Yep, that's what I'm recommending. Until it is convenient to leave, until the Lord has given you the right to leave. Because some of us see the reason why we ended up in the situations that we ended up in was out of disobedience. And so the Lord gave me a word and told me, as a result of my disobedience many years ago, that I was going to serve time, just like a person who serves in jail. Marriage turns into jail. A so-called long-term relationship where there is no, or a committed relationship where there's no marriage, but two people are just agreeing to be with each other. These sorts of things can feel like jail because you knew God and you knew what he stood for, but yet you decided to compromise. And so as the relationship matures, once again, you are getting the truth for what it is, and you don't like that truth. And now you want to bail out, and it's not time yet. The money's not right. The situation's not right. Children are involved. Okay, it's frustrating. You spend time crying. Come on, I'm speaking from personal experience. Your stomach is in knots. You're looking right, you're looking left. You're wondering if something's about to go down with this person because they're changing. They're changing. Once again, if your preferences early on, okay, are very high in terms of, let's say, the way the person looks, their educational status, and then you find out as the relationship matures, their educational status is not where you thought it was. High on the priority list was income, and these things change. And as the relationship matures, you're seeing once again there's just this change that you can't handle. You have to go to the Father at some point and just pray to him and ask him, Lord, can you remove me out of this situation? And then, Lord, I know that the timing may not be right, just not like right now, but can you at least guide me in terms of how to deal with this person in the meantime? Because I don't want to start to hate them. I don't want to start resenting them. I mean, this has been my prayers over the years. And not just with a relationship or marriage or, but it's been workplace relationships as well. Because you find out that as you get to know a coworker that they're not as honest and they're not as nice and they're not as kind and they're not as polite and professional as you thought. And you find out that some of them are gold diggers on the job. And you find out that some of them are players, pimps, and hustlers on the job. And all of these things are very disappointing to learn as a relationship matures, as, you find out that things are not what they appear to be. And then you also find out that you can't tolerate the change. Okay, the person, they were a size whatever when you first met them, and now they're triple that size. And that was one of the things that was high on your priority list. Come on, some of you all. That's not going to change if you're guilty as charged and you shot up in terms of weight. That is not something that you should be expecting that person to be, okay, I'm supposed to start to like, big women now. I mean, if he says that he didn't like big women from the start and his mind has not changed on that, well, this is me. He should accept me for who I am. Well, people should do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, that's not his preference. He told you that early on. And so what do some women do? They just go ahead, they lose the weight because they know they don't even like the weight. Come on. I mean, if I would have stayed a size that I was during pregnancy and after, if I would have stayed that size, I know, I'll put my hand on the Bible. I will tell you, I know, even though it's not a good idea to do that sort of thing, right? But I just know that the man would not be the least bit interested in me. He wouldn't have stuck around because, well, he's shallow in this and that. Some people would say, no, at the end of the day, that's his preference is a woman who is smaller. He don't want to be with a woman who's in the double digits. Okay. I can't change that about somebody, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. That's why if you know that these things are high on people's priority list, then just don't date them from the start. That's the best thing. If you know that you tend to fluctuate in your weight and you tend not to be all that into what you look like, then you need to be with somebody that is like you. You see, don't beat up that man because now he beating you up about what his preference is. Or you may have that preference where, look, come on, some of us, no, honey, we don't like real big men when we little. I told some, I told somebody that. I said, I'm sorry, but some women, they're good with that. Me, I'm not good with that. You see, I'm a little frame woman. I don't like all of that. But it doesn't make you a bad person because you got your preference. Okay. But you got, once again, some people that, oh, they're offended. Well, why? Why don't you? Because I have a certain body frame that can only uh, uh, handle so much weight. Okay. Without being specific. And so, you got to respect that. When a person tells you the truth, just respect it instead of always, oh, she's so mean. I mean, because I'm this way and I really like her, but ain't nobody trying to have any type of sexual experience with each other as brothers and sisters in Christ. So what you worried about or concerned about? But see, these are the types of things, once again, if we are just open and honest, right? And even though, yes, it did rub somebody the wrong way, but that's the kind of conversation I want you to have. You see what I mean? You got to have that conversation. Why are we going to be going down this path of saying, sure, okay, yes, whatever you like, whatever you want, whatever I don't care if you yo-yo diet. I just don't care. I mean, why are we going to do that when deep down inside, you got your preference? Come on. And then you say, well, it may not be about weight. Well, it might be about skin color. Oh, well, I mean, I shouldn't be that way. Look, you have a right to feel the way you feel. Okay? You can go to the Lord and you can ask him to deal with certain things if you feel like that's so wrong and that's so bad. You've got people who they don't like folks that got a certain habit. Okay? People that they don't particularly care for folks of a certain faith. We got people who they like women with short nails as opposed to long nails. And they like women who got real hair as opposed to fake hair. And then I came across an individual who said he absolutely loves a woman without makeup. And then I've come across men who said, oh, honey, put some makeup on. And so it goes down the line. And all of these things, once again, you don't really know what all a person likes or dislikes until the relationship matures. And then you still don't know, because there's people who have been in marriages for 30 plus years and they still don't know their partner. Matter of fact, some of them don't even know that their partner been having affairs for years. Okay, or that they have been sending money off to so-called friends over the years to bail them out. And these are friends that they have emotional affairs with, friends that back in the day they used to have sex with. And so their way of keeping them hanging on is, let me send you a gift, let me send you some money, let me put something in the mail for you, these sorts of things. And I'm telling you, God, he reveals over time, as once again this relationship matures, he reveals some things. And when he does, it is up to you to make the decision whether or not you want to stay in that. Okay? Once again, though, you never want to get to a place where you want to physically be violent to a person. And just want to really just do some bad things to them. If you feel those urges, I need to tell somebody this in Jesus' mighty name. If you feel these urges, it's best to pack up. It's best to make necessary arrangements to move. It's best to send somebody on their way. They may not have enough money. They may not have enough opportunity. Then you make that way to help them. Rather than resent them, be of service in letting them go. Look, this relationship's not working, but I can help you get from point A to point B. But, no buts about this one. I just been feeling some kind of way about you. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it got there. But I just don't feel the way I used to feel during the dating phase. The relationship has matured. There's some things that have arisen. Like what? Well, I could name a few, but then I would want you not to argue with me or cuss me out or jump on me. And if you're dealing with a person like that, then you don't get into all the details. You only speak that way to someone who is logical, who's reasonable, who's calm. And then you do it in the public. That way, if they do act like a fool, somebody will call the police and then you can make it real easy for yourself that way because there's witnesses. But when you have these kind of conversations at home with a violent person or somebody who's threatening, they will react the wrong way every time. I know from personal experience, okay? So I thank you for taking time out to listen. May God richly bless you as well as those that you love. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. And you are welcome to like, subscribe, comment, and thank you in advance for those of you all who have felt so moved to give. Blessings to you.